Hi, Dr. McLeese here, and I just wanted to take a minute to answer a question from a reader that I was just sent the other day. And this is a pretty relevant question because it's actually one I've been asked many times before. So, the couple who writes are in their 60s and they've been married before, but now married to one another, so on a second marriage. And this is the question. My wife has no interest in sex. I myself enjoy sex. Am I wrong if I ask her to be kinky slash whorish in our relationship? I feel that anything we agree on in our bedroom should be acceptable. Is my thinking messed up? So, to answer this question, I actually want to go over really a few different scripture verses I'm going to give you. And the first one is from 1 Corinthians 7, and it talks about marriage. And it says the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. So, in other words, we're talking about both people in that relationship have a duty to fulfill to one another. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. She gives it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. And then it goes on to say, do not deprive each other except if you're going to pray and fast and then come back together so that Satan can't tempt you. So we know that the sexual relationship is important and it's one that you guys should be engaged in. Now, let's look at another scripture, and this one's from John 13. Chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples about how to be Christ-like, how to reflect him. Now, we know in marriage you guys need to reflect him towards one another. So while this is spoken directly to the disciples, it's a good message for all Christians to follow. And it says, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are also to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Now, if you listen to many preachers, they'll tell you if a command is repeated twice, it's really important. And here we have it 3 times where Christ is saying you must love one another. So what is love? Well, we look at 1 Corinthians 13, our favorite verse that talks about love, other than Christ dying for us, of course. But it says that love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy or boast. It isn't proud, doesn't dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, not easily angered. And it goes on. It doesn't delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. Here's the important part right here. It protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. So in your marriage relationship, there should be a reflection of Christ if you say that you're a Christ follower. And there's almost no better place in marriage to really see that play out or to really follow that other than your sexual relationship. This is the time where you're most vulnerable with one another. The man literally puts himself into the woman's body, and the woman literally takes her husband in. There's not a more vulnerable position in a marriage than that very moment where you're being intimate with one another. And we know that our marriage is a reflection of Christ. In fact, Scripture even talks about when he takes us into himself, he's taking us in as his bride. So we know that there's this reflection between marriage as we see it here on earth and the relationship that God eventually is going to have with us. So your sexual relationship is your chance to show that you are living by that command. So, first of all, in answer to that question, kinky, whorish, those types of things don't say love to me. They don't say patience and kindness and not self-seeking or protecting and trusting and hoping. Those seem more like a worldly vision. So more of a you owe me, or you have to do this, or I need an orgasm, so do this for me. And that's not what the sexual union is supposed to be about. It's a time where you guys come together as a couple. You're intimate with one another. You're learning a little more about yourselves, and you should leave that experience saying, I love you more. I feel safe with you. I feel protected by you. And we are even closer to becoming one than we were before this experience. So we're in this position of greater love and greater understanding, greater trust. Those things can't often happen when we're asking someone to behave whorish. In fact, I would hope that you're not actually asking your spouse to behave whorish. That certainly doesn't seem Christ reflective. So can you have fun in marriage? Absolutely. Can you try different positions? Sure. You can play music or not play music, candles or not candles, lights on or off, bedroom, kitchen, wherever. All of that's fine. But make sure you understand that there are always boundaries for the Christian that we should follow. Even the ocean has boundaries. So while there's a lot of freedom and a lot of fullness in the ocean, there are boundaries around that as well. And there are boundaries in our sexual relationship. Make sure that when you're engaging in intimate acts with your spouse, that at the other side of that, you guys can feel closer together, not in any way separated. So if either of you is feeling unloved in some way or separated, then something needs to change. If you have a question that you would like answered, head on over to betterthanthehoneymoon.com. You're going to see an Ask a Question tab. You can click right on that tab, and it's going to open up a page that allows you to put in your question. It is anonymous. I'll get it into my email, and as soon as I get it, I'll try to send a video message right away, and I'll make sure you receive that message back. Blessings to you. As always, I'm praying for you, your spouse, your marriage, and your sexual lives together. God bless.